Hello, is this audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Okay, 3, 2, 1. The moment you commercialize altruism is the same moment that it stops becoming altruistic. What do we stand for on side from? One, we don't want the professionalization of philanthropy to fly. What does this look like? We say that this looks like using philanthropy, the platform to grow and perpetuate your own cause. This looks like when organizations have a business model that look at cost effectivity and want to grow their own business in order to perpetuate the message of philanthropy. This also looks like individuals using the same kind of business model. This looks like, for example, Mr. Beast, when he makes channels donating to people, and he looks at the cost effectivity, whether or not he gets returns from it, or whether or not he's able to perpetuate the same cause through this.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry, I paused your time. There's some echo, and it's very difficult to hear. So I'm not really sure if it's my problem only or it's a problem for everyone. But it's very, very difficult to hear what you're saying through the echo. So, yeah.
Okay, we want to change devices. Contact.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. I'll reset your time and then you can restart.
Hi, is this audible?
Yes, that's better. That's way, way better.
Right. I'm gonna just restart my speech, okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Sorry, there was something with the audio. Can I restart my speech?
Yes, please.
Okay. Beginning in 3, 2, 1. The moment you commercialize altruism is the moment that it stops becoming altruistic. What we stand for on side top. One, we don't want the professionalization of philanthropy to happen. What does this look like? This is like using philanthropy as a platform to grow your own business through business models that include things like cost effectivity and benefits from that cost effectivity. We want a world where this doesn't happen. For example, when you see organizations look at whether or not they're able to get returns from the philanthropy they do through publicity, and whether or not they're able to be cost effective and be as public as possible with these kind of things. So it's like, for example, YouTube channels like Mr. Beast, who built a platform or built a business off this philanthropy in order to get returns and self-perpetuate that cause. However, secondly, we also oppose the status of philanthropy as a job. That is to say, when you label someone as a philanthropist, this is something that we would want to happen under our side. The counterfactual that we want to push for, where people donate or what like the manifestations of philanthropy are exclusively for the good, coming from the good of the heart of the people who donate. That is to say, with no incentive to find returns or have any kind of business model in that regard. It's just like the philanthropy organizations being exclusively non-profit. We're going to forward 2 arguments in this speech. Firstly, on why their side kills the meaning of philanthropy, and secondly, on why our side gets more buy-in and why that's important. Firstly, the meaning of philanthropy. Notice that under their side, what it means to professionalize something is to commercialize it. That is to say, that you want to get returns from it, and you want it to actually become a successful business model. And notice that under their side, when you try to look for returns, that is to say, from giving, when you want to look for returns to giving from something, to say the betterment of the person, of the recipient, that means that you take away from the meaning of giving. Why is this the case? Well, firstly, the meaning of philanthropy, that one, the incentive is purely the betterment of the recipient. This say that there is no other incentive, and it's a pure goal. So what does professionalization do to this message? It kills it for 3 reasons. Firstly, get less connection between the philanthropist and the recipient. That is to say that you see them as an object in order to continue your business, in order to get returns, in order to proliferate the message further. However, secondly, it also becomes a money-making scheme. That is to say that the only that the act of giving ends up being dissolved into simply whether or not I get returns from it, or whether or not it's cost effective, and whether or not I profit and I'm able to do this again, and again. However, thirdly, this looks like funneling goods into very specific areas in which you are able to get the best returns. That's to say that, for example, when when supply chains to a marginalized group that does need philanthropy is less cost effective than one that doesn't need it, but is slightly better off. You're more these organizations are more opted to give it to the people who are better off, even though, yeah, like to the actor that's easy that is more that is more easily supplyable, even if they are better off than the people, even if they don't need it as much as the more vulnerable actor. The importance of this argument that even if their side says like they get more money or more exposure or whatever, notice that the soul of actually giving to the poor isn't there. It's the void of meaning. That is to say that principally it's abhorrent. The second argument that we want to follow, that we want to forward in this speech, is why we get more buy-in under our side. The reason for this is very simple. That the moment that you professionalize philanthropy, the moment that it becomes elitist, that is to say that the status of a person that is able to give to the poor in a meaningful way ends up exclusively becoming one of someone who has the money and has like lots of capital in order to do this. It's just like, for example, people like really, really rich people, let's say Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, or Mr. Beast. The reason why this is bad is because it excludes it excludes people on the ground who don't have this kind of capital to actually like buy into the activities of philanthropy. The reason why this is true is one, it creates a narrative that's exclusive to rich people. That's to say that under their side, when a middle class person wants to donate, the meaning of that donation becomes void simply because it's drowned out by the sheer volume of every other donation that is so publicized under their side. The reason why their side gets returns to begin with because they publicize the philanthropy and they say that this is what matters, my donation is what matters. And even if they don't explicitly mention that like everyone else's donation, it doesn't matter. Like the implicit meaning is there. As I say that that my help matters the most. This is what gives people the most smiles, and this is what actually matters. Everything else gets drowned out. However, secondly, is because simply the business model of professionalism. That is to say that they want this publicity and they want to show the people smiling. That is to say that they only show the end result when people actually get returns or when the betterment or when the recipient gets like a better life to begin at the end of the day. This means that there is a level of complacency for the middle class that from like just because like simply because they only show the end result. They don't show the actual like the problems that are faced for the people who actually need these donations. They simply show that like this problem has already been solved and we are the ones that solved it. You should donate to our cause. You shouldn't like it puts people off actually donating as individuals altruistically. The impacts of this are twofold. Firstly, is that we get that under our side because we're able to delete this narrative of elitism that exists under their side. We're able to get more social change through the fact that we get more philanthropic values implemented in society. And secondly, we get more donations by sheer volume. And we get smarter donations, that is saying the ones that actually help. How does this happen? Firstly, on social change. This is true for two reasons. One is that the poor or the people who are less able to actually donate huge amounts of money to these organizations no longer internally outsource this responsibility to the rich or the people who exclusively have it. The fact that under their side there exists like this justification, this internal justification that it's all right that I'm not donating to the poor because a very rich person that is actually able to donate to the poor and doesn't feel the same sacrifice as I do is doing it instead. The fact that this is removed under their side means that we get social change or we get internal psychological change from the people on the ground. However, secondly, is that the people actually feel like they can make a difference. That like the huge donations from the rich people are no longer drown out the rest of the like smaller nations that are exclusively capable, that the people on the ground are actually exclusively able to do. The importance of this argument is that the volume of help is contingent on the amount of people helping. That is to say that you can't simply rely on the 1% of the people of the 1% simply because they're 1% of the population. They don't they can't they don't they can't you can't suffice every single need in the world simply by relying on the people who are the most rich. You need help from everyone else. So even if you see less like large donations from the people at the top, the fact that you get more donations from people in the middle is already a thing, already a sign that we win under our side. However, societally, we say that the fact that you get more philanthropic values in and of itself, even if you get less donations, is all right, simply because the meaning of philanthropy lies. The second point, the second impact we want to forward under this argument is when you get and you get a larger volume of help and you get better help. The larger volume of help comes simply from the previous analysis that you get more people helping. And we say that that's more important than getting the best people to help even more. We say that like under their side, even if they're able to prove that the richest people in the world are going to be are opted to make more money, the fact we say that we get more aggregate help simply because we have more people for the cause. Or secondly, is because of smarter help. But through professionalization, people are like these organizations are only going to donate or help for people who are already set for success. Let's say that they want returns and they want to show that they're able to succeed. They're only going to donate to the people who are already set for success in the first place. Let's say that they're already inclined to be better in society. Or secondly, that they're only going to they're only going to do this philanthropy insofar that they are able to publicize it well. Let's just say that they're one of that puts them off actually donating to marginalized groups that actually need the help even more. Why the reason why we get better help is one is cost benefit analysis is not taken into account under our side where you don't professionalize philanthropy. And secondly, these people don't care about publicity and they donate it from the good of their heart, even if it means that they aren't seen as a hero to the public. For all reasons we propose.
Thank you, Proposition 1 for that speech. Opposition 1, when you're ready.
Right. Am I audible?
You are audible, but your network is a bit breaking. Maybe just like read the full motion first.
Okay. This house regrets the professionalization of philanthropy.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, amazing. My pronouns are she, they, them. I prefer verbal POI. So at any time you can just POI me in the middle of my speech. I'm very friendly. I'll take a POI. With that being said, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, with the motion given today that this house regrets the professionalization of philanthropy, right? Before I actually get into my positive matter or actually restructuring the debate, I'd firstly like to get into some rebuttal, right? My first rebuttal is that actually, it's firstly a concession that proposition said that philanthropy is basically an act of being like exclusively non-profit. We concede to that fact that yes, philanthropy is an act of someone giving out of their own good heart and expecting no other profit in return. Secondly, they mentioned something about on our side of how professionalization then automatically equates to commercialization, right? This is incorrect, panel, based on 2 reasons, right? Firstly, we ought to tell you, panel, that this then becomes an integrated rebuttal. Firstly, yeah. So we ought to tell you that professionalization on our side then looks like a philanthropic organization that will work hand in hand with other big organizations or will actually work with the government in this specific instance, right? These philanthropists will then also work like with huge organizations such as the UN, such as the UHRC. This means that we're giving these philanthropists, like professionalizing the act of philanthropy looks like us actually giving these individuals a larger platform to be able to influence, to be able to use their acts or use their money on a greater scale, right? By them working with these other huge organizations such as WHO, UN, and UHRC to be able to basically like have further influence and make sure that everybody actually benefits from their work in this specific instance, right? Secondly, panel, we also ought to understand that philanthropy on our side does not automatically equate to commercialization because still in the end, these individuals are still doing this out of their good heart. That has not changed. And these individuals will still not get anything in return because the minute they agreed, the minute they themselves decided to be philanthropists, they decided that they're doing this out of their own good heart and they know that they will not actually receive anything in return, such as money or anything like that. For these individuals will still continue in that manner. Secondly, such a proposition comes and just assumes that as professionalizing philanthropy will then automatically equate to, secondly, a money-making scheme. At that panel, as you've already stated before, just because philanthropy is now professionalized does not mean that you will automatically now get money for being a philanthropist. Great. Now, thirdly, they just throw assertions on what our case will be like, but provide no mechanization as to how this will become a money-making scheme. They need, if a side proposition actually wants if side proposition actually wants what they're stating on our side to actually stand and actually have a case, they have to exactly tell us how will professionalizing philanthropy automatically equate to it becoming a money-making scheme? Because on our side, we do not get that, right? But thirdly, they have to understand that they mentioned a point about how philanthropy actually as professionalizing philanthropy then automatically excludes people who don't have the capital. A note panel that this doesn't exist on our side, because this means that these people can now form perhaps they can now merge, or they can come together and actually do more, because we have to understand, panel, that the old saying says the more the merrier. The more money that we have to be able to help individuals is the merrier that we'll get, is the more individuals that we'll be able to help. So even if you come with your 2 cents, your 2 cents will make a difference in someone else's life. Hence, even if you earn a middle income, you can be able to also help individuals, regardless if you're going to be pairing up with Bill Gates, who owns billions. You also, with your 2 cents, will be able to make a difference, because any donation or any contribution is appreciated on our side. But thirdly, they also mentioned something about social change and how there is going to be more donations. Also understand, panel, that this is mutually exclusive on both. This is mutually inclusive on both sides, and this will be further proved onto our case and onto our second speaker, as well as how actually on our side we also achieve social change and we also achieve more donations. And lastly, panel, on my point of rebuttals, we also understand that they mentioned something about how you can't surface every need as a philanthropist, right? We actually concede to this fact that yes, this is true, but then on their side, the misconception that they have is that philanthropists are automatically supposed to philanthropists are also automatically supposed to actually like replace the government's mandate. Oh, we understand, panel, that philanthropists do not stand to actually like replace the government's mandate, but they're there to actually assist the government, right? Which then leads me on to my first argument within this debate, right? Stabilizing third world countries. We also understand, panel, that if there are philanthropists that exist in third world countries, or philanthropists that are actually like willing to be able to donate or help third world countries, this helps them to stabilize. 2 things under this. Firstly, we get division of duties. Secondly, which directly links under that, is working with the government, working together with the government. Now, what does this then look like, and what does this then mean? This means that if there's a division of duties, this means that these philanthropists, because now it's a profession, they can work with the government into making sure that the country then becomes stabilized, right? This means that the government will then tackle more extensive issues such as crime rates, such as rape rates, and all of those things like that. Issues that are really problematic in third world countries. Well, then the philanthropists also then help the government by dealing with poverty, by dealing with poor healthcare services, because they have the money and the ability to do that, right? Because in third world countries, you also understand that the economy is not as advanced as a first world country such as the United States. So this means that in third world countries, the philanthropists will be helping the healthcare centers. They'll be helping with poverty. They'll be helping with donating sanitary pads to young girls. They will be helping with educating them about how they should behave. They will be helping young men also into like growing and becoming better men into society, which then ultimately leads to less crime, which then ultimately leads to a more educated society and less crime rates and all of those things, meaning that this will be ultimately achieving the stabilization of third world countries. But secondly, panel, we also understand that this acts as a bridge to a more sustainable society, right? This means that this acts as a bridge to a more sustainable society, which directly links to my first argument that I stated within this debate, right? Such as the Gates Foundation, right? The Gates Foundation actually helps these individuals by donating, right? The Gates Foundation actually helps these individuals by making sure that they have a sustainable society, right? The Gates Foundation is a perfect example of how you can actually work with the government, because as much as they're also philanthropists and they have a lot of money, they have not ultimately replaced the government, of which is a misconception that we get on side proposition side, and which is something that we do not value on our side of the house, right? We have to understand that them acting as a bridge, government, them acting as a bridge to a more sustainable society, then they ultimately link the rich with the poor, because this also means that they're giving the poor in the society, or they're giving them the ability to be able to become better individuals. They're giving their ability to become more educated about our socio-economic issues that we face in today's debate. Understand, panel, that the principle in this debate is that we're working towards creating a more sustainable society. Understand that on our side, we're supporting the professionalization of philanthropy, because this ultimately simmers down to them actually benefiting the society, right? This ultimately leads to the benefit of the society, which is not only the government's mandate to make sure that whatever they do benefits society, but then ultimately become the philanthropist's mandate, because their work is also to benefit society. Their work is to make sure that they benefit the poor. Their work is to make sure that they give out of their own goodwill, and to make sure that them giving out of their own goodwill ultimately benefits other individuals, because that is something that we've currently seen in status quo, and that is something that we see with the Gates Foundation, which is a very popular thing in today's current status quo. So what have we given you within today's debate? Firstly, panel, we have ultimately told you how proposition's case ultimately does not work, and how social change and more donations is actually a mutually inclusive thing within today's debate. We told you that no, actually our side is not a money-making scheme. We've also told you that on our side, what we also, a benefit that we get is that we stabilize third world countries. Also, the professionalization of philanthropy has acted as a bridge between a more sustainable society. And with that being said, I have never been prouder to oppose. Pardon.
Thank you, Opposition 1, for that speech. Prop 2, when you're ready. Proposition 2.
Yes. Just checking that I'm audible and visible.
Yes, to both.
Okay, great. Time starts in 3, 2, and 1. Just 3 things today. I'm going to be doing some reconstruction, several pieces of reputation, and then finally an extension on why there's going to be less focus on grassroots problems or grassroots initiatives. But before that, just several pieces of reconstruction. I heard several responses coming in from opposition, right? First, they told us that professionalism is not the same as commercialization, because A, you're going to get like a larger platform through collaboration, and B, that it's like you're not going to get anything back. But notice, right? It's true, firstly, that professionals probably are going to be having like better established platforms or personas or things like that. But notice that they don't even mechanize that. But also, even if we accept that that's true, right? It's also true that when you have these kinds of personas or you have these kinds of established platforms, it's also true that other like aspects or other facets of professionalization also has to manifest. And that is to say, those things like profit maximization, which is what Rigo has been talking about since first. It's true that when you become a professional, you're probably going to be like able to have like better connections or stuff like that. But it's also true that as a professional, you're going to be acting like a business professional. You're going to be having to make sure that you're going to get better returns, and you're going to get short-term returns, because that's simply what the nature of professionalization is. If opposition does not want to accept this, then there's simply no delta, because then there's no difference between the actual like the normal philanthropists and the people who are acting as professional philanthropists. They're going to be exactly the same if they're not going to like profit maximize, because we will tell you that things like larger platform and stuff like that is probably also available through the normal route. Then they tell us, right, under the same point about like professionalism or commercialization, that they're not going to get anything back. 2 things here. 1, notice that professionalization manifests in many different ways. It is true that it can manifest through like things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations and what they're doing with polio, but it's also true that it can manifest in the form of what is most predominant right now and what we're seeing in cultural discourse being predominant. That is to say, things like Mr. Beast or things like TikTokers who want to get a lot of income. They generate like a lot of viewership and like giving like, I don't know, 100 sandwiches to the homeless or something, and then they're going to refunnel this money back and give it to people. We would say that in those kinds of instances, they do get something back. They have the incentive to get more money back, so they can refunnel it, like from the viewership, they can refunnel it and get it like into those kinds of efforts. Again, that means they need to get these things back. That's why it's also related to commercialization. But more so, right? It's also not true that in these other cases, like in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, stuff like that, that they're not going to be getting anything back. 1, because they're going to be thinking of themselves as the heroic person, as the altruistic person who is able to donate so much. And they're being championed for that. They're being told by the world that, you're so great, you're so good that you want to spend your money on these kinds of things. So it's not exactly as if they're not getting anything back. But 2, right? Money is also not always the motivation, because people like being the good ones. They like feeling good about themselves. They enjoy it when they get this dopamine rush from altruism, from helping people, from all these people, like all these children telling them, I am so thankful for you helping me, for you giving me a sandwich. That means under their side, there's going to be much, much more people who go against the very nature of philanthropy, who do things just so they can feel good about themselves or feel as if they're heroic. And we think that's extremely bad, because that goes against the principal nature of what philanthropy is supposed to stand for. The second thing they tell us, right? It's that people can collectivize and help others. Again, there's simply no delta here, and it's a trend that's happening throughout first opposition speech, that there's no delta between like whatever they're trying to support and just normal philanthropy, right? Because it's also true in our world that people can still collectivize, right? It's also true in this new world that people can still collectivize and help others. We're just saying it's much less likely that they're going to do so in your world, because now they think that only the elites are able to help this, because only the elites are able to get into philanthropy as a professional job, because only the elites are able to even have enough like economic comfort or have enough success and have enough money to be able to become people like Mr. Beast, or become like the TikToker who gives money or like food to the homeless, or become Bill Gates. It's only these people who are able to opt into these kinds of things. That's why when there's this like whole elitist mindset around everything, and how a philanthropy becomes a job that's just elitist and for the elite and for the people who already have the money, that they don't need to like think about themselves and now they can think about others, that people are less likely to collectivize. One, because they think that they're not good enough. They think they're not Bill Gates, so they can't help and they won't help. And two, because now that it's like so predominant in cultural narratives, right? Now they think that, oh, whatever they're doing is good. Whatever they're doing is enough. Because people think that, oh, what Mr. Beast is doing is good. Let me just like subscribe to his channel or something like that. That's why it's less likely that people are going to collectivize and help others. Third, right? They told us why social change, the third response is like, oh, social change is not mutually exclusive. But again, they don't tell us anything about this and why it exactly social change can happen on your side. But we're simply telling you that because there's this elitist mindset around like people being able to help people, like only being the rich, that means it's less likely that people in the middle class are going to be able to opt into things like social change, even in the future, not only in philanthropy, but in things like garnering social change from the masses. You're going to lose the masses because now they think they're inconsequential and they can't help people because they're not rich enough and they're not good enough. On the refutation, what is the only thing that opposition tells us, right? They tell us that, oh, you're going to be able to help these third world countries by helping governments. But again, when they accuse us of like not being mutually exclusive, they're being completely not mutually exclusive. Why can't normal philanthropists do that? What's the difference? What's the delta in professionalization? We would say that getting platforms and things like that are still possible for people with normal philanthropists. The only difference is that now these people are going to be like super profit maximization oriented, and now they're going to be unable to be helping these real third world countries because of the following reasons, which leads us directly to this extension, which clashes on why there's going to be less focus on grassroots problems and why that's actually going to harm like the third world countries that opposition wants to defend. Notice what the status quo looks like right now because of the perpetuation of the professionalization of philanthropy. People now treat philanthropy as a job. They want it then to be cost effective. They want it to be profit maximized. They implement a lot of cost benefit analysis. They implement a lot of profit maximization like schemes where they want to maximize returns, make sure their logistical allocations are like going to be the most impractical, etc., etc. This is Mr. Beast figuring out whether building 100 wells in one location or another is going to generate more hype, or like whether it's going to be easier to get camera equipment into Kenya or into like I don't know LA or something like that, or like which one is going to be more entertaining for the average viewer and generate more viewership and money to be refunneled back into his channel into helping other people. Why is this necessarily bad? One, that means that whatever that Mr. Beast is doing and whatever these like career philanthropists are going to be doing is going to be extremely short-termist, and it's just going to be based on like the revival of hype and how you get the hype. It's not going to be actually helping people because professionalization is trying to get the most returns at the short term to maximize profit. That means that these YouTubers, they're probably going to look over long-term goals and focus on what will get like the most hype or attraction and increase viewership. That means they're more likely to opt into schemes that look more grandiose or like schemes that are going to look better for them when they might not be the best in the long run. What does this look like? This looks like them, instead of opting for things like infrastructure development that may take longer and like are less like visible to the public, they're going to do things like giving sandwiches to the poor. That is going to appeal to people's hearts more because simply on screen that looks better than like digging up like areas for water like infrastructure or water sanitation to be built because it doesn't look like that interesting to the viewership. Now this is bad. Also, one, that like the change being made is actually not even helpful, but two, now that the perception is also that people are already helping, so then the average Joe, the people in the middle class, also becomes more complacent. And this leads us back to Rigo's point on why you're less likely to get social change and on why this elitist mindset is actually going to make people in the middle class not wanting to help. But secondly, you're also less likely to get grassroots initiatives because for the less public professional philanthropies, for the non Mr. Beast people, right? It's still bad because they're going to neglect grassroots initiatives. For where they think these small things, they're cost effective enough that it fits into their cost benefit like schemes, right? They're going to instead funnel more money into things like the UNHRC, the Red Cross, or Oxfam because they're more established, which means that grassroots initiatives are going to be able to grow when they actually can solve their problem better and when they actually have the local knowledge to be able to fix these kinds of things. For those reasons, so proud.
Thank you, Prop 2. Opposition 2 when you're ready. Opposition 2. Opposition 2. Ruvarashe, are you on the call? I can't hear you. So if you're speaking, maybe, I don't know, disconnect your device and then be back. I still can't hear you, Opposition 2. Do you want to maybe change your device? Or if any of your teammates, they're using a laptop, you can call them and then you can speak through their call. Okay, great. We'll wait for the other 2 minutes for you to do that. No, we're waiting for prop 2 to change the device. Prop, we're gonna give you 2 minutes and then you can iron person after that. If they're not back.
Okay, noted.
Is any of you using a laptop? Because if you're using a laptop, you can call her via WhatsApp and then she can speak.
Unfortunately, my laptop isn't responding right now. I would have to.
The other alternative, I don't know. Let's just see if they are going to come back. And then we can try something else when they are not back. Or I'll just put my number on the WhatsApp chat. And then she can call me via the phone, and then we see if she can speak through that phone. Let me just see. Yeah, I just tapped one of your speakers, so just ask her if she can call me via that number, and then I'll connect it to and see if everyone else can hear. Or she's back, so let's see. Prop 2. Proposition 2. Actually, here's team opposition. Can you guys swap roles while she's fixing network? Team opposition, can you guys swap roles? Otherwise, you can just iron person.
Hi guys, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yeah.
Hi everyone, am I audible right now? Hello?
Yes, you are audible. Hello, we can hear you. Is it Fortunate speaking? We can hear you. Yeah.
Alright, I hope then I'm audible. Just want to check what's the problem with the room, yeah?
Yeah, wait, the speaker was speaking, so I want to see if they are now back. It was just network. Fortunate, are you speaking? I don't know who Fortunate is, but
Yes, I have a question. Is it okay for our second speaker to just call your personal number and then they can do their speech through you?
so they can try to call, and then we hear from proposition if they can hear the speech. If they can hear the speech very well, then we can proceed. But if they can't, then we will in person. So let them try and call, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, no problem. Can we please do that
Yeah, I
right
put
now?
up chat, so it should be easy accessible. Yeah. Okay, can you say something? And if they can hear you.
All right, thank you.
Just read the motion in full.
This house regrets the professionalization of philanthropy.
Okay, team proposition, can you hear that?
No, it's unclear.
Okay, so team prop says they can't hear you. So I think the only option is for your team to iron person or you swap speaker roles.
So my teammates can either try to swap roles with me or they can iron person.
Yes.
It's to ask, can proposition still not hear me?